I never thought I would have to write a title like that, but here we are. These are the times we're living in. Hey everyone, my name's Said. If you watched my first video, you know that I am a Turkish-born citizen who lived in the US for many years and has had to move back to Türkiye for family reasons. And this channel is going to be about my journey of repatriating, basically, and being an expat in my own country, and what that's going to entail, some of the difficulties I'm going to have, etc., etc. I don't want to stretch this out too long. So it's been about a month since I made my first video, and I apologize for that. I've just had a lot going on, as you can imagine. We took a business trip with my sister to another city named Kuşadası. I shot a couple of videos there. And just to kind of show the city, we're going to do some videos like that too, where we highlight certain cities or parts of cities and life in Türkiye, so on and so forth. So the title, as you can see, is about Turkish women getting murdered. It's referred to as femicide, the Turkish femicide. Now, I just want to point out before we start the video that this is not something exclusive to Türkiye. Violence against women and horrendous behavior towards women is not something exclusive to us here in Türkiye. I mean, just look at India, for fuck's sake. Come on. Look at the United States. Look at all the rapes and the sexual assaults in the colleges and the military. And you know, we're about to have a president, maybe possibly for the second time, who's got sexual assaults up and down, you know, the list goes on and on. So anyway, and the funny thing is, so here's where it stems from. A few weeks ago, there was an incident where a mentally disturbed young man murdered two young ladies. One was his ex-girlfriend and one was his current girlfriend. So, you know, things like this happen. Like I said, things like this happen all over the world. What drew everyone's attention to it was the horrific nature of the murders and the fact that this kid had been making threats against these young ladies for some time. And he'd been saying very disturbed things for some time. He was on, you know, all the usual 4chans and blah, 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 and on the incel sites and pages and so on and so forth. Although he's not technically an incel. He had an ex-girlfriend, and now he's got another girlfriend. So he's obviously getting some ladies. So I don't see why he would associate with the incels. But, you know, that's another discussion to be had. So the reason why was just the horrific nature of the event. But what doesn't get talked about also is that on the very same weekend, a young lady was almost raped by two hoodlums in the Taksim area of Istanbul. A woman was shot at by a man who had a crush on her. Basically, it was just like a one-sided crush. And she was injured, and the person she was with got killed. So this was just like one weekend of like one thing after another. So, and the funny thing is, just before that weekend, I was going to make a short, like a light-hearted criticism of Turkish men and how they will stare at a woman walking down the street, and it doesn't matter if there's a man with her. There's just a certain level of disrespect towards women by certain parts of the Turkish culture. It's mostly people who are brought up in traditional homes, religious traditional homes. I'm sitting on my balcony. I hope the light doesn't get too crazy. I can see it on my screen that it's, you know, sun's coming through, then it's not coming through, it's getting dark, then it's getting light, so I apologize for that. But men more so from the eastern part of the country, men more so who were brought up in traditional households, they just have a certain disdain for modern women. They have a certain level of disrespect for women, And for them, a woman's place is the home, in the kitchen, yada, 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 that whole traditional values type, traditional male-female roles type stuff that has been kind of become popular in the last maybe like decade, especially in the US with the rise of Trump and the MAGA. So there's a certain level of disrespect. So, and this, when I say woman, I mean, as a man, you're walking down the street with your mother, your daughter, your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your aunt, your grandmother. It doesn't matter. These men have a certain level of disrespect for that woman, and they have a certain level of disrespect for you as a man. So, and if you happen to say something, there's going to be a fight, because they're right. In their mind, they're right. They have the right to stare at that woman. That woman is an object. So they have the right to stare at that woman. And you shouldn't say anything, because you're a man and you should understand. You should be staring at women too. So who the hell are you to tell them not to stare at women? So, and this is the epidemic that we're in this country as well. I'm starting to notice that more and more the more time I spend here. So, I don't really even know where I'm going with this. I just had to kind of get this off my chest and off my mind. So I'm just going to say, if you are a woman coming to Türkiye, listen, it's still a safe country for the most part. Like I said, the stuff that happens here happens anywhere in the world. You could go anywhere and this could happen to you. But just mind your P's and Q's. When I say that, I don't mean as far as like not being yourself and not being an open person and having fun. I mean that in the regard of just pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to who's around you. If somebody's staring at you, just let them do it. Just be mindful that they're not like following you or something like that. And if you're a man and you have a woman with you, just be careful. Like I said, they're gonna stare, especially if she's a modern, Western woman who's dressed in a certain way. I mean, we have women in burqas and so on that get stared at. For a man, it doesn't matter. If a man wants to stare at a woman, he's gonna stare at a woman. It doesn't matter if she's covered from head to toe. This is just the nature of a man. And just do better raising your sons. I have a daughter. I mean, I can't speak. I have two nephews, but I know how my sister talks to them, and I know how my sister, puts certain things into their head as far as how they should treat a woman and what's right and what's wrong. And even with my sister being in the picture and being a modern woman, and trying to instill these values into their heads. They still get caught up in bullshit from like Twitter and, social media. I'll hear them say dumb shit like that's just, and because they saw some guy say something anti-feminist and then they jump on the bandwagon. They're like, oh, well, women, blah, 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 blah. Well, cool your shit. And since I've been here, I've been trying to get that into their head as well. Don't listen to fucking social media. Listen to your mother. Let her show you the right way of what it is to treat a woman. Listen to someone who has a daughter. Now, obviously, not every mother and not every father are like us, like me and my sister are. There are people that tell their sons that they should be looking for a woman's places in the kitchen and blah, blah, blah. And then there are mothers who teach their sons the exact same thing. And there are women who teach their daughters the exact same thing, and you should be demure and blah, blah, blah. But just, if you're going to visit here, just be careful. Mind your surroundings, just like anywhere else. Again, this is not exclusive to Türkiye. This is a problem across the world that needs to be dealt with. And one of the problems here in Türkiye is the justice system is an absolute fucking joke. People get slaps on the wrist for any crime they commit. So there's no motivation for them to not commit a crime, because they know they'll maybe like go to jail for a year or two and get out. There's laws like regret laws and such. You know, you go, it's kind of like parole. You go in front of a board and you say, oh, I regret my actions. I'm sorry for what I did and I'll never do it again. They're like, okay, great. Goodbye. We'll let you back out into society. And then some guy with fucking 26 priors goes and kills a female cop. There you go. So the justice system is a joke. People get slaps on the wrist all the time. And just, once again, if you're coming here as a woman, as a group of women, or a couple, just mind your surroundings. Be a radar, 360. Constantly be watching what you're doing and what you're seeing. So I just needed to get that off my chest. That's just something I'm not going to get used to and I'm not going to be okay with. And I'm going to make my voice heard to make sure, you know, these people get punished, so that maybe with enough pressure, our justice system will change and the way we do things will change. If there's a threat, if some man or boy or whatever is constantly threatening a woman, harassing a woman, this and that, they'll actually be proactive and go and talk with them and make themselves known. I'm talking about, you know, police and whatever else. Let themselves be known and just be like, hey, cut your shit, and let them know they're going to get in trouble, and then pass some laws where that actually punishes people for shit like this. So there it is, folks. That's my 2 cents. Again, all my videos are not going to be depressing like this. They're not going to be in this. I just really, this is something that's been weighing heavily on me and I just needed to get it off my chest. So let's meet at the next video. Hopefully it'll be a more cheerful one.